Bonjour.
Bonjour. Comment ça va?
Well, so you are using ready-made photos, right?
Yes. Yeah.
In fact, you make ready-made adapted to photo, I think. So my question is that don't you have the temptation to create your own images that you have done?
Okay. No. Okay. Not. Of course, I started quite like every student who studied photography. I shoot all my photographs by myself, and I was, in a way, I was the author of the photograph. I pulled the trigger. But at a certain point in my career, I realized that artistic photography is nice, but there are much more interesting photographs out in the world that I would like to work with. And most of these photographs I could not shoot by myself. So if you take the stars, I needed the help of professional astronomers to do this kind of work. In terms, when I work with journalistic photographs, of course, I have to use the work that was already done. And
naked woman?
Naked woman, for example.
You could have done them, and it could have been very interesting.
I would say it would have been very boring.
Why?
Because actually, I don't have all the fantasy that is out there in the internet. So in the internet, I found really all kind of sexual fantasies, desires, practice that I never practiced, but it's out there and I wanted to show that. So there was no chance to shoot all these photographs by myself.
What's new about Mao?
So actually, there's nothing new. I think Mao Zedong for Chinese people is like middle age for us. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think Chinese how do you say, Zeitrechnung starts only with in 1979 with what was his name? When they opened the market. So since then, with the economic, more or less not freedom, but of course, controlled economic capitalism, that's the start of the new time in China.
Yeah, but you are not Chinese, right?
Yes, actually, I don't care about that date.
So what do you care about in this story?
In this story, I care about, how do you call that? Images of power or images of, let's say, seduction. Images that, maybe they, of course, it's not brainwashing, but it goes beyond advertisement, let's say like that.
And it's more powerful?
Maybe it was powerful when they were published. I think when you look at them today, it's how do you say? It's more nostalgic.
So it's a mix of propaganda and kind of political advertisement and nostalgia.
No. It's not nostalgia. Of course, I wanted to pick Chinese politics of today and combine it with the imagery of the 1960s, because I think China ideologically is still back in the 1960s with their one-party party, still the Communist Party with the big leader. Xi Jinping, wants to be the new Mao Zedong. No, they still ideologically, they are still in 50 years, not ahead, but back.
That's interesting. You are very interested by China, so I imagine.
May I smoke?
Please.
No, it's maybe, yeah, it's half-half. Of course, first comes the image. So I was interested in these images. And I have, yeah, let's say, a nice collection of books about China.
In the 60s? In the 60s?
Yeah, probably they were all from the 60s, 70s when, yeah, they tried to show the world their great country. And all the successes they did in, yeah, not politically, but in terms of industrialization, agroeconomy, yeah, more or less everything.
Yeah, no, but if you are doing a whole series about China today with old images, speaking about the power today, but with old images, it means that you are interested by China, no?
Yes.
By China today.
Actually, no, I don't care about China. it's
So,
only that.
Let's speak about the next series. Let's suicide.
No, of course, China is interesting because it's such a big country with such a big population. I think it will definitely have impact on economically on the whole world. It's more or less the biggest economic power in the Asian, within the Asian continent. And yes, we cannot ignore it anymore because it's so powerful.
Okay, but tell me, what are you very much interested by today?
No, what I was interested in showing this kind of schizophrenic moment that in terms of, yeah, technological improve, they are on the same level as the Western industrialized countries, but ideologically and in terms of controlling the people and surveying their own people, they are still, yeah, in the 1960s. And also as soon as a new technology shows up, it's immediately used to use it to have more control and more power and more surveillance on their own people. So it's in German we call it zweischneidiges Schwert. It's a sword with two sides. So first you have the technology, which is just technology, but then it depends on how you use this technology. And then it's, I would say, China fulfilled all the promises of George Orwell's 1984. And we had thought that in the 1970s, with the Red Army, terrorism, and the reaction of the state, we would be in a kind of 1984 situation. But China is these days even worse.
You use pixel blurring part of the image, right?
I wouldn't say blurring, it's pixel, yes, but the pixel is sharp, it's not blurred. Okay.
And so you use it in different ways.
The pixelization means that, yeah, the pixelization represents the modern state-of-the-art technology world. And I'm using these prints or books or magazines from the 1960s with their old-fashioned printing grid. So that's the printing technology of those days, and the pixel is the printing or the big distribution technology these days in the internet. And I'm combining these two. And so the workflow is that I have a scan of the magazine with the grid, with the old-fashioned grid, and then I turn this file into kind of electronic pixel file. And then I'm superimpose these two parts. And then I have a look at the result. And then I have, the new pixel plus printing grid image I have on top, and the old one with the offset grid below. And then I am erasing part of the first level to look, to make visible the image below, which is the original old image. And erasing parts of the image it's just it's an artistic work. It's a question of composition.
Sorry.
Bless you.
Thank you.
And that's what I do.
Yeah, but you choose to. I know I'm not allowed to use the word blurring, but you choose to pixelize only part of the. For example, there's this portrait of Mao in the countryside on a bank.
Yes.
And why do you choose to pixelize only one part?
No, that's, yes, as I said before, it's a question of composition. It's you look at the image and okay, here you could erase something. Oh no, I have to go back. I'll try it in a different.
Why do you make a reference to Erro?
The reference is only the title, Tableau Chinoise.
Oui.
And yes, I know his work from the 1960s, where he made these Mao paintings, where he also, I think he also was one of the first artists who commissioned, I don't know where, maybe in painter in Bangkok to do his paintings. So part of them were painted by himself. Some of them were painted by a professional painter where he sent the photograph or the image, and then it was painted in Bangkok. And yeah, he has this small booklet, this small red booklet with, looks like Mao's Red Bible. And the title is Tableau Chinoise. And I like that very much. So I thought, this is also the perfect title for myself. So it's Hello, Mr. Erro.
Why big is so good in photography?
Big is not always good. It depends. So I have a lot of series that are pretty small. And so my photographic work varies from 18 by 24 centimeters up to, yes, let's say 2 by 3 meters. In terms of Tableau Chinoise, I decided that I took that size because maybe you really go close, you can recognize the printing grid of the original newspaper. Yeah, if you stand in front of the original, so if you look at it from a far away distance, you think you look at a precise photograph. It's just a photograph. And then if you come closer, you recognize the grid of the pixel. And then if you even go closer, you recognize the grid of the printing grid. And all this together it's a physical experience that I like very much. So that's the big format is a decision for those things.
You look like a man of obsession. What is your obsession now? You are locked in your studio? What is your obsession?
my obsession is, yeah, let's say space.
Space like the moon?
Astronomy. It's cosmology. Because I think everybody should be interested in astronomy. Yeah, because astronomy can tell us where we come from and where we go to. And by exploring the world out there. Okay, I'll show you something.
Wow.
So this is my collection of rocket models.
Wow.
And also have a nice collection of historic photographs of, yeah, astronomy and so on.
And are you working on a new series?
No, not really. I have something in mind. So right now I'm looking into a microscope, looking at very small things, but I still don't know whether this is just a private interest in looking at small things. I don't know whether it will be something new, but actually I don't care if
No
something.
pressure.
No pressure, no.
So it's interesting. You go to micro to mega. You go from the space to the microscopic views now.
Yeah, but that's part of the history of photography. So in the very beginning, yeah, let's say Daguerre and Talbot, they more or less invented photography parallel in France and in England. And in England, you have a slightly different tradition. They developed the paper negative. Daguerre developed his daguerreotypie. And from the very beginning, and they called it the pencil of nature because it exactly records what's in front of the camera. So that was something new. And of course, the scientists took immediately advantage of this kind of new technique of image taking. So of course, the astronomers then attached the camera to the telescope. And then the medicines, they attached it to their kind of, yeah, let's say medical apparatus. And yes, of course, they also then took photographs through the microscope. So photography always has been a tool for, yeah, let's say exploring the world, and was always used to produce images that you probably would not see with the naked eye. Mm-hmm. So it was very productive and very helpful tool. And I think in the 19th century, photography was much richer than in these days.
They invented everything, huh?
Yeah, because every photographer, he had to be a chemist, he had to be an optician, he had to be, yeah, maybe sometimes even a physician to create his images. And only
they were completely free.
They were completely free. They, of course, there were some disadvantages because of the static and the long exposure times. But yeah, that was all solved in terms of technology. And only since, let's say, the 1920s, with the invention of the Leica and the 35 millimeter film, this kind of ethos of authentic photographic images showed up that did not exist before, because they had to do a lot of darkroom work to make their images, to improve their images. And now, yes, so at that time, there were only a few experts who could practice that properly. And now with the mobile phone, you have suddenly 4 billion photographers.
And you make photos with your mobile phone?
Yes, of course, I use my mobile phone to do some photographs.
But like what? What do you do?
Okay, so maybe there's more, I use them more like sketches, things that I see, that I think that are interesting. And yeah, it's like a sketchbook.
So what is your next dream now? Last question.
Next dream, of course, the end of the pandemic. That's what I'm waiting for.